Hi everybody, today we're going to be going over meiosis, and so I gave you the notes sheet in class, so make sure you have that ready to go. And I'm going to get my pen ready, and let's get started. So you might notice on this screen you see some sperm cells, and these are made through meiosis. So a male goes through meiosis starting from puberty and starts to make sperm cells through his whole life. All right, so to understand how this process works, we have to understand that there's two main cell types, somatic, and these are just our normal cells, whether that be skin cells, nervous cells, whatever it is. Anytime you grow, from the time you are one cell big, you're going to be going through mitosis to make these cells. All right, and each cell is genetically identical. Okay, so mitosis copies the DNA, puts both copies in the two cells, and they're genetically identical. Okay, so this is important to note. Now, that doesn't mean they do the same thing or have the same function. It's just that they're going to be using different parts of the DNA. But everyone's got all the DNA. Everybody's just using different recipes off of it. Okay, now when it comes to reproductive cells, things like sperm, egg, pollen, and plants, these only contain half the DNA of all the rest of the cells of the body. All right, so if you're a male, the sperm is only going to contain that male's half of its genetic information. And so sperm and egg come together to make the full set. Okay, and these are made through a process of meiosis. So we're not making an identical cell, we are making a cell with half the DNA. So there's an extra division in there. Okay, now just to back up a little bit, not all organisms produce sexually. Some do, like here's some meerkats. They're going to reproduce just how you'd imagine. And anything with a flower, these are sexual reproductive parts. So in a flower, insects are attracted so that pollen can mix with the egg. So the egg is found in the center, and the pollen comes out of these things called the anthers. So those are going to combine together to form a new plant. It will form a seed. Now, some are somewhere in between. Like these guys, these are bacteria and an amoeba, and they're actually getting really close together and exchanging genes through a little tunnel called the sex pilus. And so there's an exchange of genes, but these two cells aren't exactly coming together like they do with sperm and egg. So it's sort of this in-between thing. Now, these are examples of fully asexual processes. So this is a plant growing a stem called a stolon, hoping that these guys are going to land on some dirt and grow a new plant. So it's just a quick, easy way to reproduce. And this plant will also flower too, so it can do both. This is a bacteria just undergoing binary fission. So this is pretty much just mitosis, except bacteria have a round chromosome. So it's just a slightly different process. But pretty much two identical cells, everybody in a bacterial colony would be genetically identical. Okay, so let's take a look. So you might know who this family is. So there's Miley Cyrus, long time ago. Don't think she looks like that anymore, but you can see that she has some resemblance to her siblings, and they come from the same two parents, but they don't look alike. They have some resemblance, but they're not identical. So why is it that we look like our parents? Sometimes one sibling can look more like one parent than the other. Sometimes siblings can look almost like identical twins, like the Olsen sisters. But, you know, why is it different every time? So meiosis helps to explain that. So I want you guys to kind of keep the Cyruses in mind as we go through this. Okay, you guys have this picture. And so this is just some terminology for us as we go through the process of meiosis. So meiosis is going to result in either eggs or sperm, right? And so if sperm is being made in a male, it's called spermatogenesis, and it's oogenesis in females. Now you'll see that 4 totally functioning sperm are made in spermatogenesis, okay? So it's basically one cell splits into 2, those two are going to split into 4 sperm, okay? So that's how this is going to go down. This one is the same thing. So one germline cell is going to split and then split again to make our 4 cells, right? The only thing is these 3 are going to turn into what we call polar bodies. And so these polar bodies are basically going to donate everything inside their cells, with the exception of the DNA, all the organelles and whatnot, into the egg, all right? So when babies are formed, all the baby's organelles come from the egg, okay? So every mitochondria in your body came from your mother originally, okay? And let's take a look at this. So, all right, so meiosis happens in either the ovaries or the testes, so we get our egg and sperm. Notice this little N. This means that each adult has 2 copies of DNA. All right, so you might remember from regular biology, we said that if you have blue eyes, you're big little b, or you're big B, little b, or something like that. That means you have 2 copies of information for each trait. All right, so this means you're diploid. Okay, so the term for having 2 copies of genetic information is diploid. So we have, for instance, 23 pairs, or a total of 46 chromosomes. All right, so these 46 chromosomes. All right, but the sperm and egg only have half of that, 23 chromosomes. Okay, so that's just plain N, not 2N. So we only have 1 copy of everything. And so this is called haploid. So we can say sperm cells and eggs are haploid. Or the haploid number for human beings is 23. We can say any of those things. Okay, so egg and sperm come together and form one single cell. That first cell that belongs to you is called the zygote. All right, and then the zygote undergoes mitosis to grow and develop into a juvenile, first an embryo. Okay, so you go through embryonic development, then you go to fetal development, and then juvenile development from there once you're born. Okay, and then again, more mitosis to reach adulthood, and after that, meiosis occurs. Okay, now one of the differences is that meiosis for women happens from the time she starts basically fetal development. The woman's going to do meiosis, okay? So actually in a woman, meiosis is half completed before she's born. Okay, so actually a woman is born with a whole bunch of eggs in her ovaries already, and they're actually suspended halfway through meiosis, and every month meiosis is completed and she releases an egg once per month. Okay, so a woman's reproductive capability is limited because once those eggs run out, she's not going to make any more. So she's born with pretty much all she's got. And so the older those eggs get, the more complications arise, and we'll go over that later. Now, for a man, though, meiosis is going on all the time. So meiosis is continual, starting from puberty. All right, so just a difference between men and women. Okay, now we said we have 46 chromosomes. So let's take a look at those 46 chromosomes right here. So here they are, so 23 pairs. The last pair is the sex-determining chromosomes. All the rest of these are what we call autosomes. Okay, so that just means these contain all the genes for all the other stuff. These contain the genes for making your eyeballs and making your muscles. All those genes are contained in here, okay? And so you get 1 chromosome from mom, 1 from dad, maternal and paternal. So for every trait, you're going to have some instructions from mom, some instructions from dad, and then what you actually use is going to be some combination. Okay. Now, you know, in S phase, these are going to replicate, okay? So this shows you what it looks like after S phase. Okay, so you have your centromere holding together both copies, okay? And the copies, the identical copies, are called sister chromatids. So these are identical. Okay? Together, since they code for the same stuff, they're the same length, these are called homologous chromosomes. And it's really important that you know the difference, okay? Homologous chromosomes are not identical, okay? So let's just take that eye color example. Let's say you're big B, little b. Right? So this one has the big B gene, the brown gene on it. This one has the blue one on it. They're still coding for eye color, so they're homologous. But when it replicates, now these are identical sister chromatids. They have the exact same allele on it, the exact same type of gene. Okay, so let's move past this and let's go on to this diagram. Now mine is right side up, yours is a little sideways. Okay, so yours is running this way, so I apologize for that difference. Okay, so this is in G1. Okay, so this is sitting in G1 right here. And let's say this person is, let's just say big B, little b. Okay, and then let's say big K, little k. All right. So people have tons and tons of traits. This is a very simple cell. It only has, let's just say it only has 2 traits. And it only has 4 chromosomes. Okay, so 4 chromosomes. 4 chromosomes is its diploid number. Okay, so diploid, it has 2 copies of each thing. Okay, so we're going to go through meiosis on this cell, and we're going to end up with sex cells, so either eggs or sperm. So those should only have 2 chromosomes because we're going to cut the number of DNA in half. Okay, so now we're going to go through S phase, and we're going to duplicate the DNA. So these are these little short guys. So that's going to be big K, little k, little k. All right, big B, little b, like that. Okay. And so now we're going to enter, so we're going to go more prophasy. All right, so this is the first prophase that we're going to enter. So it's prophase 1. And what you'll see happen, see how they kind of switched? They came together, and you'll see some blue here and some red here. This is called crossing over, okay? And it happens right here. Okay, so what happens is they get so close together they form what's called chiasma. Okay, that just means the DNA gets so close together that we'll see little pieces switch. Okay, so DNA is exchanged between homologous chromosomes. Okay, so we'll get a little bit of reshuffling of genes here. All right, so this is one reason why siblings don't always look the same, is because this crossing over is going to happen differently every time the mom and dad do meiosis. All right, so I'm going to stop there for this video, and we'll pick up the rest in the next video.